one.
It's like I always say, boys and girls, kiss her where it smells, take her to New Jersey. This weekend, the UFC is pulling up to Newark, New Jersey, and Zach from Filthy Philly and John Boy from sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida, are here to tell you what to watch out for and what to steer clear of. John Boy, I don't even have to ask, but I'm going to ask. How excited are you?
Dude, it's kind of hitting me this afternoon, if you will. I am fucking hyped, dude. I'm hyped. I'm going down the line right now, down the pecking order of this card. It's stacked, dude. It's sneaky stacked. Every single fight on the prelims is intriguing,
Yeah.
amazing. But I do want to say that was a hell of an intro. That might be my favorite one you've done yet.
I'm gonna say from a personal, like an honest look at my own art form, it's my second favorite. It's gonna be a long time before I think I can beat the 12 Days of Christmas intro.
Okay.
But I felt good about this one. It just hit me spur of the moment. I ran forward. That's how you got to do it.
I think it's going to pull the people in, right?
I
That's a,
think so. I think so. Let's take care of business first things first. Let's
of course.
get ourselves on a even scale. There we go. Let's remind the homies, since the card's in New Jersey this weekend, you better hop on Sport Trade. You better start looking for some value.
Oh, hell yeah. We'll tell you who to invest in. Last week it was Song Yadong. That turned
Ooh.
out to be a decent buy. So shit, maybe let's give another little sneaky play this week. That's the game plan, baby.
If you invested in Song Yadong last week, all I want is an invite over to your hot tub. That's all I ask. I'll bring the burgers to throw on the grill. Just let me hop in the hot tub. That's all I want.
Yeah, no, we had a very decent week, very, very good week last week. Good reads. We started to really nail it. But let's keep it rolling, baby. Let's
Let's
keep it
keep it
hot.
rolling.
Let's roll it into UFC 288, man.
The CBD is cracked. Let's get down to business. We got Aljamain Sterling taking on Triple C, Henry Cejudo. This
Wow.
is this is a fun one.
Yeah,
This is
man.
a fun one.
I'm surprised that it happened, honestly. There's a little part of me where I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh wow, like he's really gonna do the thing. Cejudo's really coming back.
I'm not really surprised. I had a feeling when he retired the first time that this wasn't it, and there's some dudes who, when they talk about fighting somebody, it's talk, and there's some dudes that will pull up. And for all of his cringiness, Henry Cejudo will pull up to fight. He will back up the cringe every time.
Yeah, I mean, Habib said it himself. This is coming from Habib Nurmagomedov, greatest combat sports athlete of all time, Henry Cejudo.
It's high praise, but you'd have to really sit down with the whiteboard to start looking at people who are better. I'm not saying that he necessarily is the greatest of all time, but you need to really start doing your math homework to figure out who's better than Triple C. And for that reason, I'm gonna cut you off right at the knees because I know what you want to know. I'm gonna tell you I think Triple C is the favorite in this fight.
He is.
I'm gonna tell you I think it's the right call.
He is.
Yeah, I like Cejudo here. I really do. I think Cejudo's a nightmare matchup for Sterling. I look back at Jan Sterling one before the infamous knee incident. What Jan really figured out how to do with Aljo was just to overwhelm him, right? And Jan obviously overwhelmed with strikes. Cejudo is a wrestler, but I think the game plan is the same. Overwhelm Aljamain Sterling. Don't let him take a breath. Don't let him get a thought in. And who better than an Olympic wrestler to do that to somebody, to just grind all of the ability to breathe and think out of their mind?
Yeah. I'm going to disagree here.
Please do.
I'm going Aljo here. I'll tell you why. I like the size discrepancy. I think he's the lengthier, he's the longer guy. Cejudo's coming off of a layoff, right? Long layoff. If anybody can get over a layoff, it's him, right? The work ethic is second to nobody. But then I look at Aljo's camp, and there's a guy in Aljo's camp who resembles Henry Cejudo, and that guy is Merab Dvalishvili. And if you are going rounds with Merab Dvalishvili in a fight camp, that's as close as it's going to get to a guy like Henry Cejudo. And I might even say a little bit better and a little bit more of a grinding pace from Merab opposed to Cejudo in terms of overwhelming the fighter. I'm gonna go Aljo here. I think the length is gonna pay off. I think he's gonna be able to touch him at a distance, and I don't think Cejudo is gonna be able to implement the wrestling like he would against other guys. I think it's gonna play out mainly on the feet here.
And here's the interesting thing then to consider, right? Aljo, not really an on the feet kind of guy. He's got, I believe, 3 wins by KO TKO in his
Mhm.
career. It's an illustrious career with 22 wins and not a whole lot of losses, right? And if you look at his losses, they're all to pretty legit guys. Um, he's got 2 split decision losses to Rafael Assunção and Brian Caraway. Those are both years ago. And 1 loss via a knee KO for Marlon Moraes. And that's it. Those are the only blemishes on the record. That being said, Aljo, up until the last TJ Dillashaw fight when he stopped him, I wouldn't have really thought Aljo had much of a hand base, period. But all the same, Aljo's record bears out. This is a submission grappler, and everybody's the same height on the ground. And for that reason, I think if Cejudo can get inside on Aljo, if he can get past that range, Aljo's in for a rough night.
I I I understand where you're coming from, right? He's not a power puncher, but he does have volume and he's very unorthodox. It's a really weird style. He's like this long, lengthy guy, and it's just something that's hard to mimic. Obviously, Cejudo has arguably probably the best camp on the planet in terms of bringing different bodies in. I saw his coach say something that was really cool. It was like, if you want to beat the world, you have to bring in, or if you want to be the top of the planet, you have to bring in the world. And they're bringing in all of these guys from every place you could imagine. If anybody's ready for the fight, it's Cejudo. But dude, Sterling, Jimmy Rivera, Pedro Munoz, he was piecing them up on the feet. Sandhagen, that's kind of an anomaly that happened very quickly. The 2 Jan fights, he was competitive on the feet.
You know, so Jan number 1, they were on the feet, they were trading, and I think if you watch that back before Jan's, I just the worst decision I think that's ever been made inside of a cage, except maybe Kelvin Gastelum shooting a takedown on Adesanya. Second only to that has to be Jan throwing that illegal knee to Aljamain Sterling, because on the feet, on a long enough timeline, Jan had Aljo beat. He was overwhelming him with strikes. He figured out his timing. And Jan is a guy who's giving up range to Sterling, as most people in the bantamweight division are going to do. He's a rangy guy. So
Mhm.
Hugo, if you could say anything about him, and it's probably because of the fight ready camp that he rolls with out there in Arizona, these are guys who are smart fighters.
Yeah.
They are just extremely, extremely intelligent. I've always maintained I think wrestling is the best base for mixed martial artists. Cejudo has wrestling for days and days and days. He's arguably one of the best wrestlers to ever cross over to mixed martial arts. 5 rounds. I don't see Aljamain Sterling stopping Cejudo with strikes. Only one person has ever done it. It was Demetrius Johnson, arguably the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. It's the only person who's ever stopped Cejudo. I don't see Aljo having the power and having the consistency and volume that Johnson does. And for that reason, over 5 rounds, I think Cejudo's going to wear him down.
Really
I
interesting.
do. That's how I feel. We're in our feelings today. That's my feel.
No, no, I get where you're coming from, right? That's also at flyweight too, though, right? Sterling's a big bantamweight.
He
Like
is.
Sterling's talk has been talking about featherweight for a really long time, about going up in weight, especially with Marab kind of waiting in the back to kind of take over the 135 reins. I just think when you have a guy like Marab Davalishvili in your camp, when you have a guy of that magnitude in your camp and he is your main training partner, you're going to be ready for a guy like Cejudo. I think that he's going to be able to keep the pace on for 5 rounds. I think it goes all 5 rounds. I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a greasy decision. But I think so. I think Cejudo loses it. I really do. I have a feeling that that Sterling's going to get it done.
My prediction is thus. I think Cejudo gets it done over Sterling. I think Sterling takes that as an opportunity to go to 145. I think Merab gets the shot with Cejudo. I think Merab takes the belt. Here's why I'm not ready to give Sterling the Merab pass. Because
Okay.
at some point, you reach a level that it doesn't matter how hard you work, you're just not going to get to, right? And I think Merab and Cejudo are two guys whose wrestling ability it kind of outclasses hard work. There's just a way that these guys understand body mechanics and the way that the body moves that no mortal man is ever going to understand. And Sterling, by his own admission, is getting worked by Merab in training pretty frequently in wrestling exchanges. And Sterling's a great wrestler. Don't get it twisted. But I don't think that Cejudo is an Olympian. I believe he's an NCAA champion. I mean, there's levels to this, and you reach a pinnacle of talent that can't be taught. And I think that's Henry Cejudo on the wrestling mat.
I agree. I mean, as smart as they come, nobody's discounting the fact that he's probably one of the best minds in the game. I just think at this stage in his career, it's a tough one to step in, like this. I don't know, man. I have a feeling that Sterling's going to do it, though. I just do.
I think, listen, you might be right. And I might be misreading this one, and that wouldn't be the first time that either of us called one wrong. Um, I will say though, from a bantamweight like division perspective, I think it's the worst thing that can happen right now.
If
I,
Sterling wins,
that Sterling wins because it's
I
going to
think if Sterling wins, though, similar to what you said your scenario earlier, I feel like if Sterling wins, he can vacate the belt and move up to 145.
he could he
Right?
could do that. And that wouldn't be the worst thing. I mean, Marab has been 100% clear he's not going to fight Sterling, which I think is a misstep on Marab's part. But I think if Sterling has any decency, if he beats Cejudo, he'll vacate and go to 145. Like, look, you've defended the belt. You are the undisputed bantamweight. Go up to 145 because the world needs Marab Dvalishvili to fight for the title at 135. We need to see that.
I kind of like that there's still some fucking loyalty these days. I
You know,
like it. I know a lot of people give him heat, right, from a financial perspective and what have you, but I do like that there's a little bit of loyalty in camp. I do like guys that are like, you know what, I'm not going to fight my training partner. I'm not going to fight the guy who was with me from the beginning, that was with me for my entire rise to the top. There's a little part of me that respects that. But obviously, it's called prize fighting for a fucking reason. These guys want to get paid. I think Marab ultimately will get his shot. Um, yeah, it's interesting. I feel like either way, it sets up well for Marab though here.
I hope so because
I
you're
really
right.
do.
From a personal perspective, you couldn't be more right. I'm glad to see that loyalty still exists in the world. If you know me off of the podcast, you know I'm a guy who touts the virtue of loyalty above all else. From a professional standpoint, though, hey, at the end of the day, Mickey Mantle never paid my bills. That's all I'm saying.
Facts.
But either way, I think it's going to be a good one. I think you're right. I think it's going to be a 5-rounder. Unless Cejudo can really get inside early in the range, which if he figures out the range game early, it could be a bad night for Aljo. But I think he's going to need a round or two to get comfortable with Aljo's range. And so for that reason, I think it's a 5-rounder.
I think we might be surprised about the size discrepancy when these two guys step in there.
Do we know? So it's a 3-inch height discrepancy. Do we know the reach discrepancy?
I mean,
Because
check.
Aljo's rangy for 5'7". Like he doesn't look like a dude who's 5'7". He looks like a dude who's 6 foot tall.
Yeah, I don't have the reach pulled up, but the one thing is I've noticed that Cejudo looks a little plump as well, right? He's 36 years old. Like we've discussed, he's coming off of a layoff. His last fight was in 2010, right? We're going back almost 4 years.
2010.
Or no, sorry, 2020.
Ooh.
2020. You know what I meant. 2020 against Dom Cruz. I don't know, man. I like Sterling here. I know that Henry Cejudo just had a baby. There's always that theory when you have a kid on the way, your priorities change and you start really straightening it out. I don't know. There's something that's telling me Sterling's going to get this done.
Listen, it's going to be a good one either way. If you rock with me, if you rock with John, we always tell you if our thoughts align with your thoughts, pull the trigger.
100%.
And speaking of just greasy fights coming our way, co-main event coming in to save the day, Bilal Muhammad taking on Gilbert Burns, a short notice Dorino.
Yeah. Great
I'm
fight.
I'm gonna say that I think Bilal is the favorite here.
Yeah. So originally this was supposed to be Beneil Dariush, Charlie Olives. That fight fell out. So Bilal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns stepped in on late replacement. And you said Gilbert Burns, you believe would be the favorite here?
No, I believe Bilal, remember the name Muhammad, to be the favorite.
Burns is the favorite here.
No shit.
Very slight, all
Huh.
slight. I did see that there is public money coming in on Bilal. Um, this being a 5 rounder is massive. If this is a 3 round fight, I think Gilbert Burns is the rightful favorite, but only because it's a 5 round fight, it makes me a little bit hesitant. I think Burns is better everywhere than Bilal Muhammad. I just think Bilal is a harder worker. He's not a harder worker. That's not the right word. He's a grinder.
True grinder.
He's a true grinder. You're going to have to hit this guy over the head with a fire extinguisher to get him out of there because he's not going to stop coming. And Gilbert Burns is coming off of a late replacement, right? He literally just fought Jorge Masvidal less than a month ago.
Yeah.
Anytime a guy has to make a double weight cut in a 2 month time segment, it's never, history says it's never a good call. I'm torn on this one. I keep going back and forth on it. You think Bilal's the favorite here? How come? What's your lean?
I think it's a 5 rounder. We know that Bilal can just work, work, work forever. And I think really what tells me this is number one, Bilal's been on a hot streak, right? Has not lost since January of 2019 when he dropped a decision to Jeff Neal.
Mm-hmm.
Since that time, he seems to only get better, and his competition has been stepping up progressively. So 2021, he beats Damian Maya. We know that Gilbert Burns is an incredible grappler, but who's better at grappling in MMA than Damian Maya, right? Damian Maya was known for one thing and one thing only, and it was submissions. Then he beats Stephen Thompson. Who's crisper on the feet than Stephen Thompson? Then he beats Vicente Luque, who is just a dog no matter where that fight goes. Who's a bigger dog than Vicente Luque? Right? So you look at the 3 different styles of mixed martial arts, all of which you could attribute to Gilbert Burns, and Bilal Muhammad has beaten all 3 of them in the last 2 years. Then he derails a hot and streaky Sean Brady, TKOing him at the end of the second round. So to me, I don't know that there's a look that Burns can give Bilal Muhammad that he has not seen since 2021, and he's come out victorious over all of them. We're looking at Bilal 2.0 here, and he looks like a man on a mission. Add in the fact that he's got that chip on his shoulder because he feels like he's getting disrespected for a title shot. I don't know. I think we're looking at a dangerous Bilal and a Gilbert Burns who's on his second weight cut in a month.
Yeah, but I mean, some of the guys that you just mentioned, right? Stephen Thompson, Gilbert Burns beat him as well.
True.
Gilbert Burns' last 2 losses were Hamzat Chimaev, which was razor thin, and then a knockout loss to Kamaru Usman, where he had him badly hurt in the first round. This is such a good fight. Like, this is as even as it gets. I saw that Bilal Muhammad wanted this fight to be at a catch weight, and Gilbert Burns said no, which I thought was very interesting. Damn, man, I am really torn here. I'm really torn here. I think it's going to be an amazing fight, though.
At the end of the day, who's tougher in this sport than Gilbert El Dorino Burns, right? Like who's tougher, who's more game than Dorino? I can't think of anybody. I mean, this man is, he's one of those guys. He will always fight for your money, and he's the epitome of any time, any place. Look no further than that fight with Hamzat Chimaev to find out how much dog exists inside of Gilbert Burns. But I don't know. Bilal Muhammad just seems like he's got that chip on his shoulder that until he's fighting for a belt, he's not stopping. It's a tough call.
This is what I'll say. This will be my last 2 cents. I think Burns is the more skilled guy. I think Burns is crisper on the feet. I think Burns is smoother on the ground and grappling. I think that Bilal has more cardio and a little bit more of a pushing mentality, a more in your face, higher volume for sure. Um, it's a super volatile fight. I wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket here. Um, but my pick, oh God, Zach, this is a tough one, man.
It's
But
a
you
tough
love
one.
that. You love that. That's why
That's
the UFC is so good because
that's
it's
what
just
we
the
want.
unknown. It's the unknown. My official pick is going to be Bilal Muhammad. It is
I
going
know
to
you
be
don't
Bilal
like it. I don't like it either. I don't like it.
Yeah, my official pick is going to be Bilal Muhammad over the course of 5 rounds, but I don't love it at all.
This is that fight that from and I know we run the gauntlet on people who listen, right? We have people who listen who really love to put a little money down on fights. This is a nightmare for you. If your big pull to watching MMA is you just love to put a little money on there, this is a nightmare to pick.
Yeah,
But
don't chase this fight.
from a fight fan perspective, from somebody who just loves to watch fights, this is a dream scenario. These
Yeah.
are two guys who are they're both going to fight for your money. You know, Bilal gets a bad rep as being a boring fighter. He's an incredible wrestler in that cage. We know he's got hands. He just stopped a real tough Sean Brady. So you know he's got tough hands. This is a fun fight to watch. Tough fight to bet.
Yeah, no, I could not agree more. I mean, like I said before on one of the pods, we were talking about sometimes now in fights, you're not betting on fighters, you're betting against the opponent.
Yeah.
And this is not one of those situations. You can't bet against either of these guys, like you said. You're going to have to kill either of these two to get them out of the ring. This is probably this is fight of the year written all over it.
It really does. Or
Or Burns starches him in the first round.
exactly. I was going to say, or Gilbert Burns just does Gilbert Burns stuff, and Bilal Muhammad is looking at the ceiling in 30 seconds.
I don't think Bilal is going to knock him out early. I think
No, I don't.
Bilal would take care of him in the later rounds, like 4 or 5. But we saw what Burns did with Hamzat, right? He got life in the third round. So
Yeah,
it's like, holy shit. The only question mark is the weight cut for me. If these two guys were fresh out of a fight camp, I might be more inclined to pick Burns here. But just because of the situation and the scenario that we're in now, I'm going to go with Bilal Muhammad.
at the end of the day, look, I sat down, I looked at this one, I felt more comfortable with my math in picking Bilal. Do I
That's
feel
fair.
sure about it? I do not feel sure about it at fucking all. That's just I did the math. That's the math I came up with.
Yeah.
If your math is different, you know, if you're listening at home and your math is different, you fucking let me know. Hit me on the socials. Tell me what your math is, and I'll probably agree with it.
Yeah, we'd love to hear it down below. Let us know.
Yeah.
Bilal, Muhammad, or Gilbert Burns.
Holler at your boys. Let us know why we're wrong here. We're always happy to hear that.
Yeah, we want the fans to chime in on this one.
I must be imagining things though, because you know, when I looked at to research this card, it said that the next fight was Jessica Andrade. That can't be right. This can't be the third time this year that she has fought.
Yeah, probably the hardest working fighter on the fucking roster. I mean, this girl does not stop.
And coming off of a loss, too, coming off of a tough loss to Erin Blanchfield.
My girl.
Your girl. There's another one for Sport Trade, right? If you can still get Erin Blanchfield at a decent price, invest Blanchfield.
Yeah, she will be the champion at the end of the 2023 calendar year.
Yeah, I'd be hard pressed to fucking bet against Blanchfield at this point. I gotta tell you. Well,
Do we know if this is a 5 rounder, Zach?
Andrade versus Jan.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think so.
Okay.
It's the third, right? It's the third fight down, so it's not a main, it's not a co-main, and it's not a title. So I don't think it would be.
It was originally supposed to be the co-main, and then the Bilal came in, so I didn't know if they signed off on that. It being a 3 rounder, that's definitely in Andrade's favor.
I would think so, and I would guess that Andrade is the favorite here as well.
You would be correct.
Yeah.
She is minus 185. Jan is at plus 160. The only thing I will say here is Jan is definitely the more active fighter, way more volume. She's definitely going to add more strikes up on the scorecard. So I don't want to say it's a position where Andrade it's either KO or finish or bust, but if this goes to the scorecards, it could get a little greasy.
It certainly could get a little greasy. Jan, obviously a talented fighter. Her last fight, I think she beat Mackenzie Dern.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning Andrade here. You talk about volume, and I think about the Lauren Murphy fight. It was not Murphin time. Andrade with just that's still the funniest fucking I don't know. It's the funniest tweet I've ever seen. It's Murphin time. That hits me right where I live. I mean, who is Andrade, ever lost to, right? Erin Blanchfield, Valentina Shevchenko, Rose Namajunas, Wiley Zhang, Joanna Jędrzejczyk,
Yeah.
and then almost 10 years ago to Raquel Pennington, but and over 10 years ago to Liz Carmouche. But this is somebody who, if you are not truly the pinnacle of women's MMA, if you are not the next big thing, you're probably not getting Jessica Andrade out of there. She has 34 professional fights at 31 years old. And we know from her victory over Lauren Murphy, which was a decision that should have been stopped, her corner should have had the decency to throw in the towel for Murphy. When Andrade finds her range, she's laser focused with it.
Yeah, and no, you're 100% right. And then there's the one question mark for me on Jan's record is the Carla Esparza second round TKO. She got grapple fucked in that fight.
Yeah.
Andrade can wrestle. We've seen Andrade literally spike Rose Namajunas, literally pick her up and spike her like a volleyball. So Jan's got to shore up the wrestling. If she can shore up the takedown defenses, though, I think this is going to be a legit one, right? Lost a split decision to Marina Rodriguez, who is as legit as it comes on the feet. The Mackenzie Dern win isn't super impressive. She just had to negate the wrestling, which she did, but she got taken down towards the end of that fight. I'm gonna go with Andrade here, but I don't love it at that price tag.
From a price tag standpoint, I understand what you're saying. From a purely who do I think is going to win standpoint, I am super hard pressed to not pick Jessica Andrade. In my opinion, she is, if she's not the most complete fighter in women's MMA, she's a top three, right? She can wrestle, she can grapple, she can throw hands, she's got cardio for days. She's got nine professional wins by knockout, 8 professional wins by submission. So this is somebody who is a weapon anywhere.
That the standing arm triangle choke that she hit on Amanda Lemos was
right.
Absolutely like gorgeous, just unbelievable technique, just super, super sharp play.
Yeah, no knock on Zhao and Yan, but I think Andrade is just a more complete fighter here.
31 years old. She's not even that old. Jessica Andrade was only 31.
Yeah.
And Jan's 33. If you put a gun to my head and said, who's the older fighter, I would have definitely said Andrade.
Yeah, because we've been talking about Andrade for as long as I can remember. She's been a staple of women's MMA. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go back and yeah, she came to the UFC in 2013 when she was 21 years old, and she has stayed there ever since.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people have had their hand raised over her. Even Rose Namajunas, who avenged that loss, it was a split decision.
She's definitely like a top 5 gatekeeper type of role, maybe even top 3. It's like a real litmus test for some of these up and coming girls, to see if they're ready to go. And this is definitely going to be a test for Jan. So should be a good one though. It should be a good one.
It should be a good one. I don't think Jan gets it done. I mean, I think as far as like Andrade is she's almost the quintessential title eliminator. Like, if you can't beat Jessica Andrade, you got no business fighting for the title. If you beat Andrade, you've got a shot at whoever holds the belt. So I don't think Jan is quite there. No knock on her. I think it's Andrade season.
Yeah, it'd be hard. I'd be hard pressed to disagree with that. I'm going to also agree with you here and go on Andrade. I just haven't seen enough out of Jan where I could trust her in this spot.
Yeah. Well, we got a banger just right on the heels of that. We got Movsar Evolayev taking on Bryce Mitchell.
Yeah, this is disgusting.
This is insane.
Yeah, it's a disgusting fight.
This is absolutely insane. And I mean, Evil you want to talk about just a tough customer. Win over Dan Ige, Hakeem Dawodu, Nick Lentz. Those are his last three fights. I mean,
Mike Grundy's another good win because his stylistically he's similar to Bryce Mitchell, right? It's like
yeah,
a wrestling grinding pace. He's kind of seen that type of stylistic matchup before. I mean, the guy's 16-0. He's never lost a fight in his entire career. He hails from Russia.
no,
Really good camp. Dan Ige, very, very quality win. He did have a split decision against Nick Lentz.
it was a split. Yeah, but undefeated, 16-0. Bryce Mitchell, of course, lost that goose egg to Ilia Taporia late last year.
God damn, this is a good fight.
It's a good fight.
Who do you think the favorite is here?
I'm gonna guess the favorite is Bryce Mitchell.
Movsar Evloev minus 265.
Wow.
Huge favorite.
Fuck.
Huge favorite.
Huh.
Maybe the biggest favorite on the card.
Yeah, that's saying something. That's a lot of that's a hell of a
Yeah.
lot of faith in Evloev.
Yeah, Evloev's the second biggest favorite on the card.
Wow. That's a lot of disrespect on Bryce Mitchell's name. The guy that fucking dismantled Edson Barbosa, Andre Feely.
People are reading into the Ilia Taporia fight. You know, when
I
he
don't know.
when he can't get the wrestling going, um, he can tend to have problems on the feet. So is your official pick Bryce Mitchell? Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't want to say that. Don't make me say that, please.
I
Maybe,
don't know.
maybe it is. I don't know. Bryce Mitchell did just drop another rap verse. I don't know how that plays into the betting odds, but he did it.
Okay, that's interesting. It's something I'll definitely take into consideration. Um, I don't think it's lined correctly. I don't think it should be that wide. I do think Mobsar is the rightful favorite here. I think minus 265 is craziness. Minus 265 that's a wide number. You're talking almost 3-1 margin on that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't know about that. But like you talked about before, from a winning standpoint, I think this is Mobsar Evloev's fight to lose. I think he just has to keep it off the ground. And he might even maybe finish Bryce Mitchell. My official pick is Mobsar Evloev here.
I'm going to go with Bryce Mitchell. At this point, the only person who's been able to stop the wrestling was Ilia Taporia. I don't believe that Mobsar is Ilia Taporia. I don't believe that there are many people in the UFC who are Ilia Taporia. So for that reason, I'm going to ride again with Bryce Mitchell, Thug Nasty, the self-proclaimed flat earther, nutsack driller, and Christian rapper from Arkansas. I'm riding with Bryce Mitchell.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about it.
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it, right? Because who other than Taporia has been able to stop the wrestling?
Brad Katona,
All right.
Ultimate Fighter. It's not on his official record, but he did lose to Brad Katona in a 2-round fight.
True.
Who was also cut from the UFC.
Yeah, that's sad. I expected more out of Brad Katona, but whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a good fight. I mean, obviously, you're only as good as your last win. So that impression of Bryce Mitchell getting knocked the fuck out by Ilia Taporia is never a great look. Movsar Evloev has the unblemished record. So that's why he's getting that number. I'm gonna go with him here. I'm gonna side with him until he gets beat against pretty much anybody in that division except for Ilia Taporia. And
Fair
Max
enough.
Holloway.
Fair enough. What else? What
Actually,
else?
a lot of guys. That was a bold statement. Don't take that.
Yeah, that was pretty bold.
Very bold.
Well, we got another fun one on the heels of that. We have the last remaining Gracie holding up the name Ice Cream Kron Gracie taking on Charles Air Jourdain.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It's a really good one. It's a fun fight. Kron Gracie had a really long layoff
He did.
After his fight with Cub Swanson. I have a really bad taste in my mouth after that fight because I was really on Kron Gracie there.
Yeah.
And he decided to stand and bang with Cub Swanson for 3 rounds instead of shoot a takedown.
Yeah, with Cub Swanson.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes you think kind of like where is your fight IQ or where like what is your corner? What did you do all camp?
Yeah.
That's the one thing that really concerns me here. Because Charles Jourdain isn't great on the ground. You get Charles Jourdain on the ground, Kron Gracie wins this fight all day. It's just, is that the route that he goes?
I think I think Kron probably knows better after trying to stand and bang with Cub Swanson. I'm gonna ride with Kron Gracie here. I don't know if he's the favorite or not, but I'm gonna
Plus
ride.
190, big dog.
He's a big dog. I'm gonna go with Kron, multiple time ADCC champion. I just an incredible grappler. Um, Air Jordan on a two fight skid. Um, and before that, got submitted by Julian Erosa, who lost this last weekend.
That's an
Um,
awful look.
yeah, like I have to believe that Kron Gracie is going to have an easier time submitting you than Julian Erosa ever will. So that little math formula right in there, that's got me leaning Kron.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree. I'm gonna go with Charles Jourdain here. I don't love it. I think this is just gonna come down to fight IQ. And I'm not I both of these guys, it's a little bit tough. Jourdain's takedown defense is god awful. He was literally getting tripped by Nathaniel Wood and Shane Burgos. Like you could push him over like he was like a feather. You could literally just ankle pick and he would go on his back. So Kron Gracie does have a route to victory here, but he did against Cub Swanson as well. He only has 6 fights on his professional record. And if he doesn't
Yeah.
get the submission, he's in trouble. So give me Charles Jourdain, but dude, this is another super volatile fight. This is a tough card to bet. These guys are, it's a super unknown factor right now for UFC 288.
Yeah, this is a bettor's nightmare because this is another one.
I agree.
If I fell asleep Saturday night and woke up Sunday morning and you were like, Kron Gracie submitted him almost immediately, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. Or,
Mhm.
Jourdain, squeaked out a decision on the feet because Kron Gracie's not a striker. I'd be like, okay, makes sense.
Bingo. You could lean either way and look like a genius.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
You could be like, oh, definitely a sub. And then he subs him and it's like, okay. And then he gets KO'd and you look like an idiot. This is one of those fights where literally it could go either way. The line is a little wide though. I will admit that much. To be plus 190, little wide. But give me Charles Jourdain here.
Yeah, I'm rocking Kron Gracie, but again, this is another one. I mean, this whole fucking card's a nightmare. And
And
the
speak
nightmare doesn't end. We got Drew Dober taking on Matt the Steamroller Frivola, fresh out of Strong Island, New York.
great fight.
A great fight.
Great fight. But I'm rocking with Drew Dober all day.
I figured you are. Um,
All fucking day. Who you think the favorite is?
I think the favorite is Drew Dober.
Minus 200, Frivola plus 170.
Yeah,
I'm a Dober guy. Um, Give me Drew Dober all day here. I think he knocks him out too.
my heart says Frivola, my brain says Dober. I just Terrence McKinney stopped Frivola on the feet, knocked him out. I have
Flash
to,
KO. Yeah, that was quick.
yeah, like I have to believe that if T-Rex McKinney is getting it done, that Drew Dober is going to get it done. Drew Dober is just the epitome of dog in there. He'll just keep chasing you, keep throwing bombs. Um,
When
and
you
then
when you look at Drew Dober's losses, you're like, oh fuck, he doesn't have fucking Islam Makachev,
yep,
Brad Rydell,
yep,
and it was a very close fight. It was a really competitive fight, and then he has knockout wins over Nasrat Haqparast,
yep,
Alexander Hernandez,
yep.
Terrence McKinney. His last 6 wins were by knockout, Dober, and
Yeah,
he's knocking out dogs.
yeah, exactly. I think the smart play here has to be Drew Dober. I don't see any other way around it. Matt Frivola, definitely a talented fighter. Has a win over a UD over Jalen Turner. But he's a little bit streaky. He's one of those guys like he's never really been able to put together kind of a resume that will really have you lean for him one way or the other. You know, he beats Jalen Turner. Then he has a split decision victory over Luis Pena, who I believe that's Violent Bob Ross, who is now, I think, getting stopped on like local MMA circuits. You know, a UD to Armin Sarukian, a KO loss to Terrence McKinney, a TKO win over Gennaro Valdez, a KO win over Atman Azatar. You know, clearly if Frivola can put a knuckle to your chin, he's got a path to victory. But I mean, how many times have we seen Drew Dober get punched, get hurt, get stunned? You know, this guy just he will march through punches. He's like got a bulletproof chin.
The more that we talk about this, the more I'm, I like Drew Dober and MMA math, but if you can't do MMA math, right? You could do all the MMA math in the world, and Matt Favola could go out there and get the dub here. But I think Drew Dober, this is tailor made for Drew Dober to win this fight.
Yeah.
Favola's a little bit chinny as well.
Yep.
Um, he does have the best photo I think I've ever seen on a Shirt Dog profile picture, though.
He looks like fucking an extra on Yellowstone. He looks like fucking Bane from Batman has a guest spot on Yellowstone.
Yeah, some Indiana Jones, Batman type shit.
Yeah.
He is in Aljamain Sterling and Merab Dvalishvili's camp. He fights at a Huntington, New York, out of this out of whatchamacallit, out of Matt Serra's gym as well. Sarah Longo. So I mean, his camp is phenomenal, but I just think Drew Dober is a little bit too much for him.
Yeah.
He's gonna try and wrestle. He's got to try and wrestle Drew.
Yes.
That's his only path to victory here is by wrestling.
But Drew Dober, a good wrestler in his own right.
Very good wrestler, and like he's prepared against some of the best guys
Yeah.
in the world. I mean, it took Islam Makhachev three rounds to submit him. You know what I mean? So if you can stay on your feet for 2.5, 3 rounds,
Yeah, just a tough ass dude.
great fight though, man.
Yeah, great fight, a lot of fun. Two dudes that are gonna fight for your money, right? Like they are stylistically very similar in that way. Like they're two guys who are gonna go out there and bang. They're gonna bang for your buck. Like it is what it is. I just think at the end of the day, Drew Dober gets it done.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm on the Drew Dober train till the wheels fall off type of thing.
Exactly. Drew Dober's one of those guys. Like you really got to show me something for me to bet against Drew Dober.
Facts.
You wanna what do you want to do next? You want to talk Kennedy and Njaku?
Yeah, Kennedy and Nzechukwu and Devin Clark.
Good fight.
Who do you think the favorite is?
I'm gonna say I think it is Kennedy.
You'd be correct.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same exact line as the Dober Favola fight. Nzechukwu minus 190. Devin Clark plus 165. Nzechukwu is a Nigerian, tall motherfucker. This dude is a big boy.
6'5".
6'5". Big boy. You can see it in the ring. He was a little raw coming into the UFC, but you can see that the potential and the upside is there. Dude has some pretty quality wins on his record. And Devin Clark is just one of those guys where it's like you don't know what version of Devin Clark you're going to get.
Agreed.
And those are the worst type of guys to rely on, where it's just you don't know what version of them you're going to get. So for those reasons, I think the trajectory of Kennedy's career is up, and I think Devin Clark's is kind of on the tail end of his career. So give me Kennedy here at minus 190.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
No corrections, no addendums.
Perfect.
What else you want to talk about on here? We got Kaylin Williams, we got Marina Rodriguez, we got Phil Hawes. I mean, who speaks to you?
Chaos Williams fighting.
Yep. Chaos Williams is fighting.
Rolando Bedoya. That's going to be a first timer, UFC first timer. We saw what happened with that last week. Julian Erosa getting knocked out.
Yep, that was a shame.
I love the boy Philly Hawes, but then here we go again. Ikram Aliskarov. That's another UFC first timer.
Yep.
it's hard to diagnose and dissect some of these first time guys if you're not watching, the amateur scene or the lower professional circuit scenes. Um, Verna Jandaroba, Marina Rodriguez. That's interesting.
That's an interesting one.
I like that one. Who do you think the favorite is in that one?
I'm gonna say I think it's Marina Rodriguez.
Minus 125. That's kind of light. Kind
That
of a
is
pick
light.
'em there.
That is light.
I kind of like that. I kind of like Marina Rodriguez in this spot.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it.
Jandaroba is going to need to take this to the ground and get a sub. Marina's just got to stand on the feet. She did it with Mackenzie Dern, right? Mackenzie Dern's arguably a little bit more, a little bit more polished version of Jandaroba.
Yeah, Jandaroba, 18 professional victories, 13 by submission. So her game plan's not really a fucking guessing game.
Exactly.
You kind of know what she's looking to do here.
Yeah, I feel like she's just a little bit less polished version of Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
She does have a fucking win over Angela Hill, though.
her last victory was over Angela Hill.
I don't love that.
Yeah, she got a UD over Angela Hill.
But she took her ass down. Angela Hill's got to just stay the fuck on the feet, Angela.
Well, that was the fight where Angela Hill was coming out to show everybody she had kind of learned how to wrestle. She had kind of learned the ground game, and I don't doubt the sincerity of that claim. But when you're stepping in against somebody like Virna Jandiroba, who only knows the ground game, this is not the time to debut your new submission knowledge. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%. I mean, you see when people can, nullify the wrestling. Carla Esparza has a
Yep.
win over her. Mackenzie Dern has a win over her. Amanda Ribas, another girl who's very good at staying on the feet and neutralizing wrestling. They win. So this is going to come down to if Marina Rodriguez can stay on the feet, and I think she will.
I think so.
So give me Marina Rodriguez. I think minus 125 could be a gift line. It could be one of those ones in retrospect where you're like, why was that minus 125?
Yeah.
So give me Marina Rodriguez all day, actually.
Agreed.
Other than that, though, Zach, there's nothing else that's really calling my name.
That's it. That's as complete an analysis as I think you're going to get from us for this card, guys.
Yeah.
The only other thing I'll say is Phil Hawes, the newcomer that he's fighting, is a Dagestani who is fighting on Eagle FC. So I'd stay away from that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Don't even think about it.
I've learned my lesson with debuting people. It even happened last week. The only person that fucked up my DraftKings lineup last week was Stephanie Egger, and she fought a girl who did a knee lock, and it was her UFC debut.
Yeah,
so I'm done with that shit. I am done putting stock in guys where I haven't seen them fight or not. There's no need to play the guessing game, no need to chase, no need to reach. But yeah, man. Sick freaking card, man. I'm so excited. Shout out the boy freaking Eli. He's a legend. Yeah, man.
Eli, we love you. We know you're not listening. We know you don't listen. That's fine. We love you just the same. You want to get to last week's recap? You want to do a little 3-and-3 takeaways?
Yeah, man. We had a little song. The boy Song Yadong came through.
Yeah, is that your first take? You want to talk song?
Yeah, that's going to be my first takeaway. He is who we thought he was. If you watched last week's show, we were on Song. We thought that he would be able to negate the wrestling, and he was the cleaner guy on the feet. And that is exactly what happened. Literally, he prevailed. He negated the war of just the grinding and the pace of Ricky Simone, and he landed the cleaner shots. Ended up TKOing him in the 5th round. Song Yadong's a top 5 guy. He's interchangeable at 135 pounds. It is legitimately crazy how good bantamweight is in UFC right now.
It's wild.
It's
absolutely wild.
There are so many guys at 135 that could win on any given day that it just makes it a complete and total crapshoot. So, I mean, like Song Yadong, Merab Dvalishvili. Oh, could you imagine?
It's insane. It is. It's completely insane, right? I mean, here comes a streaking Ricky Simone, tough wrestler, grinder. Song just absolutely picks him apart. Ricky can't even keep him down off the takedowns. The timing from Song was unbelievable.
Yeah.
The range, unbelievable.
And he cracks too. He hits hard.
Cracks.
He's one of the guys at 135 that 135 really doesn't have a guy who hits like that with like one punch power. Last guy that comes to top of my mind was like Marlon Moraes,
Yeah.
who could end the fight like that. There's not a lot of big punchers at bantamweight. Obviously O'Malley, but he's a little bit more technical, like cleaner. He hits you in the right spots. But man, Yadong freaking can crack, man. He's one guy who could end it at any given time.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see who they give him next. I'd be interested to see who they give him next, actually.
Yeah, I mean, plug and play with anyone else in the top five, and I'm going to tune in to watch it.
All day.
I especially love Song Yadong point 2.0, where he's now gone to alpha male and he's developed like a real alpha male personality. Song was once like this really mild mannered guy in there. Now he talks shit during the fucking fight. He'll
I like
smile
that.
at you like he'll crack you and then smile at you. Like I fucking love it. Like the team at Alpha Male has clearly developed his persona a little bit. All in on that. So yeah, big time night for Song. Yeah, plug him in with anybody in the top five. I'm gonna fucking watch it.
All day. What you got
Um,
for me?
my first recap. I'm gonna debut a new segment. This is a segment I plan to do every week. Uh,
Hmm.
it's called Photo Watch, where I check ShareDog every week before we record to see if they have updated Jamie Lynn Hort's photo from the
Ooh.
Instagram photo they clearly stole from her. Week one, checking in on Jamie Lynn Hort's photo, not updated. It is still
Okay.
a cropped Instagram photo of her holding two amateur belts standing in front of a mountain. So there's
I like
takeaway
this.
one. It's a new segment we're going to do, checking in on Jamie Lynn Hort's photo. Uh, not updated. So back to you, John. Second takeaway.
Oh, okay. Right back to it.
That's it.
My second takeaway is Rodolfo Vieira.
Go on.
Rodolfo Vieira is he got banged up a little bit. Brundage was landing some clean shots. But what I will say is that's the most composed I've seen Rodolfo. He took some shots, but he still stayed in it. He didn't really panic. He shot the takedown to a good degree. He's a bad matchup for a lot of guys. When you have that pedigree of BJJ under your belt, he's a nightmare matchup for a lot of guys. But what I will say though is I have a feeling the guy you're about to talk about next would be an even worse matchup.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, hats off to Rodolfo Vieira. We had him by sub, and he got the job done in the second round.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I think we're gonna see him again at 185. And if he gets the right matchups, he could make a little bit of noise at middleweight.
He absolutely could. My next takeaway, Kyle Barallo. He's a problem at 185. He's a real problem at 185.
We
Not
we said that coming in too.
and not just because he's good, but what I think he presents at 185 is something 185 is kind of missing right now, which is a guy who is very much a submission specialist. You look at 185 right now, it's a lot of guys who are really well-rounded mixed martial artists.
Mm-hmm.
Guys who can really get it done anywhere, but jack of all trades, master of none. Kyle Barallo is a submission fucking mastermind in there. And I don't know necessarily that there are a lot of guys who are ready for somebody who has submission heavy as Kyle Barallo is. Guys like that present a real problem, a la Paul Craig, a la Damian Maya, right? Guys who are very submission oriented. You think I'm going to get him out of there. If you can't get him out of there, they're going to grab a foot, they're going to grab a knee, they're going to grab an ankle, an arm, a neck, whatever it is. They're going to find it and submit you with it. I think Kyle Barallo could be a problem at 185 right now.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think the one thing too is he's really good. The grappling is there, but he also can hold his own on the feet. Like opposed to a guy like Rodolfo Vieira, who's probably a little bit more credentialed in the submission world. That would be a great fight, actually. I think we just pulled a little Mick Maynard,
Once again,
action here, and yeah, make that fight.
once
Rodolfo
again,
Vieira, Cairo Barallo,
let's say it.
right? The writing's on the wall,
Silent R, Cairo Barallo. Let's say it.
right? They both Cairo and yeah, I'm calling him Cairo from now on. They both had round two subs.
Yep.
They both fought on the same card. Gives them the perfect amount of time to recover and get into a camp. Make that fight.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm all in on that. All in on it. What's your third takeaway?
My third takeaway, we kind of got into it a little bit before, is I'm done. I'm done making a lean or a pick on guys who I have not seen enter the UFC. We saw Julian Erosa get knocked out by Fernando Padilla, the perfect example. We gotta see these guys fight under the bright lights. We need to see them in the UFC before we make a lean on anybody. Another example: Stephanie Egger against Irina Alekseeva, who knocked up a sub in their first round, making a UFC debut. So Marcus McGee, another guy, UFC debut on short notice, gets a dub. So, we got to see these guys under the bright lights to kind of make a good read on it. So I am done, Zach, making picks on guys making their UFC debut. I will leave that to you.
Completely fair. And I'll tell you what, it leads perfectly into my third takeaway, which is that I think Irina Alekseeva might be somebody to watch in women's MMA. Stephanie Egger, always kind of a middle of the road fighter, but a legit middle of the road fighter all the same. Somebody who has a decent amount of submission victories. Her losses were to Myra Bueno Silva, Tracy Cortez. Those were her only two losses in the UFC before Saturday night. She gets caught in a knee bar, right? That's a tough submission to get in the UFC. You don't see a lot of knee bars. Irina Alekseeva has a very light record, but a very successful record. She's coming out of Russia. She's clearly very submission heavy. So my third takeaway, not making any bold predictions. I'm not putting her on the top of Mount Zion yet, but just put a little pin in there. Next time Alekseeva gets a fight book, just pay a little bit of attention. See how she fares as she gets a little bit tougher competition. I have a feeling she could be somebody to watch.
Russian Ronda.
Russian Ronda, yeah, that's
Interesting.
what she's calling herself. I guess an homage to the great submission specialist Ronda Rousey.
The one thing I will make note of, I'm not discounting her. She did miss weight by 4 pounds
She did. I was super unapologetic about
and
it.
just like flexed it off.
Yeah, totally flexed it and then knee part her opponent.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not a great look when you're missing weight. But yeah, like you said, the potential is there. The skill set is there. If she starts mixing in that judo where she starts throwing people down and starts locking up submissions, and she obviously got the name Russian Ronda from somewhere. So interesting fighter to keep an eye on, and
Do you know what's
really
most
solidifies my
interesting
last
though?
point. What's up?
You know what's most interesting to me though, and this is sort of a broad strokes point. Think back 10, 12 years ago. What was it? Women's MMA debuted in the UFC, what, 2013? Is that when Ronda Rousey came out? 2011, something like that?
Sounds about right.
Right? So we've got a decade of women's MMA at the highest level now. At the time, Ronda Rousey did a very basic hip toss to an armbar. Standard armbar, nothing fancy about it. And for years, at least 2 or 3 years, there was not a woman in MMA who could figure out how to stop it.
Longer than that.
Now Irina Alekseeva comes in here and throws a fucking knee bar in her debut. I just think that is an homage to the talent, the absolute depth of talent that has showed up in women's MMA in such a short period of time, right? A knee bar was sort of, you didn't see many, if any, of those 10 years ago in women's MMA, right? Arm bars were taking people out of the fucking game left and right. Now you're seeing fucking knee bars from newcomers. It's a real testament to how far women's MMA, I think, has come as a sport. Really cool to see what the future might hold for women's MMA. So,
Dude, this is off the track, but I didn't realize about this. With Ronda Rousey, she never went to a decision in her entire career.
never.
12 finishes and she was finished twice.
Yep.
That is insane. Submission, TKO, KO, submission, KO.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
crazy, man. That's why she's Ronda. That's why she got the rowdy nickname, man. That's insane.
Yeah. She was, I mean, she was a generational talent, starch Betchkohea. And that was, I think that was the defining moment of her reign at the top was, everybody thought it was hip toss to armbar, and then she just absolutely flatlined Betchkohea. Ronda was something else. It's a real shame that she never came back from that derailing from Holly Holm. I would have really liked to have seen Ronda kind of repurpose her game, maybe get with a different fight camp, sharpen up the hands a little bit. Not to be. She's in the WWE now. Whatever.
Good for her.
All props, right? Hey, it's probably, I know the WWE is a tough racket, but it's at least a little bit easier when you know somebody's not going to actually break your arm. So good for Ronda, and she was the mustard seed for women's MMA, right? It existed before Ronda, but Ronda put it on the fucking main stage. She was the first ever women's MMA champion, and now you got all sorts of crazy shit happening in women's MMA, especially with submission grappling and stuff like that. So great to see. You want to get into the news for this week? We got a couple things to cover. You want to start with Bare Knuckle FC, BKFC?
Yeah, dude.
See what's happening there, what's crapping?
Dude, I know this is gonna be an off take, but I kind of like BKFC.
You've been slowly building us up and preparing us for you to say that. It's been a little while, but you've been slowly preparing us for that realization.
I've been to a BKFC event before, and dude, it's kind of lit. Like it's a good time. It's a little bit, it's a quicker, it's essentially boxing with MMA round times. So it's like it's a condensed boxing format, and the dudes crack. I mean, they're starting to get some really high caliber names. I mean, sure, they're taking out mortgages to sign these guys and put fights on. But they're doing the damn thing. I mean, they sold out that arena in Denver. They had McGregor there coming in and out of the ring. They had absolute name value on there. I mean, you had Eddie Alvarez fighting Chad Mendes, Luke Rockhold, Ben Rothwell was on the freaking card.
Rockhold not looking so good after that one.
No, but I mean, you could make the argument. I would rather watch BKFC over any other promotion, I think, than UFC.
That is a bold take that I'm not ready to follow you down that rabbit hole.
Okay, how about this one? Maybe this could be the barrier to entry here. Would you rather watch it over Bellator?
No.
Really?
No. Now, there's qualifiers to that, but I still think a good Bellator card beats a good BKFC card.
I don't know.
Look, it's clearly BKFC is on to something. Their owner sure as hell believes in it.
That's good though. It's all you need. You need a man with a little bit of blind conviction to get shit done.
I mean, you told me off air that the owner of BKFC double mortgaged his house to put this event on.
That's what the rumors are. Ben Rothwell apparently went on in an interview and said that he took out 2 mortgages.
Can you imagine a world in which your livelihood, not just your livelihood, but the place where your family sleeps, the place that keeps your children off of the street, hinges on Platinum Mike Perry?
Yeah, man. Crazy world.
What a terrible existence. What a terrible reality to have to face.
It panned out though, man. That was it was a massive event. You had Conor McGregor fucking in the ring.
You did. Look, clearly BKFC is more legit than I ever thought it would be. I thought this shit would be fucking done by now. But I mean, to get Luke Rockhold in there to do it after he just retired from the UFC, I mean, the reason I'm going to pick Bellator over BKFC is because they both, I think, suffer from the same problem. They both have just become retirement homes for guys who aren't good enough to hack it in the UFC anymore. So it really comes down to, what do you want to see? Do you want to see a mixed martial artist who can't fight in the top promotion still do mixed martial arts? Or do you want to see him lose the gloves and get his whole shit broke in a bare knuckle boxing match? I'm still going to pick mixed martial arts. However, I'm starting to understand the draw a little bit more. And clearly it's not going anywhere.
And these guys are getting bags too to fight. I mean, Eddie Alvarez and Chad Mendes were like, the money is great here. Like they're lowering these guys in with big bags. Like we said, we know where the money's coming from, right? This is imaginary money, if you will. But if you can start putting together some of these fights, I mean, Eddie Alvarez says he'll be back, right? I mean, BKFC, what if they sign Francis? Imagine Francis with no gloves punching people in the head.
I'm gonna have to consult my crimes code and find out how you get that fight sanctioned. That might actually be illegal. To
Would
let
you not watch that?
All right, I'll say it right now. I'll say it right. If Francis Ngannou signs with Bare Knuckle FC, I will
Okay.
watch that card.
Okay.
I haven't watched one yet. If they sign Francis, that's the first one I'm watching.
You haven't watched one yet?
Not watched one yet. I've seen the highlights on Instagram. I saw Luke Rockhold, who was once, by the way, a male model. At the same time, he was a UFC fighter. Luke Rockhold, I think, was a male model for, was it Polo? Like it was like a big name brand or like Gucci or
Well, it was
something.
Polo Ralph Lauren, yeah.
Polo Ralph Lauren. He looks like fucking Frankenstein's monster right now. Like Luke Rockhold's missing like 8 fucking teeth, all because Mike Perry doesn't have pain receptors. Unlike normal people, Mike Perry's apparently an X-Man. He's part Wolverine and doesn't feel fucking pain and has a head that's made out of fucking adamantium.
Yeah. No, no. Mike Perry is BKFC.
I mean, who better than Mike Perry and the underground king, Eddie Alvarez, to be the faces of this organization, right? Like, these are two guys that were tailor made to fight without gloves. The only problem is the legitimacy. I mean, these guys should be fighting in a basement somewhere, but I have not watched one yet. If they get Francis, I will watch.
Francis Ben Rothwell.
Ben Rothwell would be in the fucking funeral home the next day. He'd be in a fucking funeral home the next day. But I digress.
Okay. What else we got in the news?
Well, speaking of Francis, there's a little bit of as they would say across the pond, a little bit of controversy, a little bit of controversy as to the future home of Francis Ngannou. Chatri Sityodtong, CEO of ONE FC, comes out this morning, says for non-monetary reasons, he's killing the Francis deal. Francis is not going to ONE FC. Seems pretty bad for Francis. You and I were talking about it off air. Francis is fumbling the bag. Francis calls into Ariel Helwani this morning and says he didn't kill it. I killed it because I'm looking somewhere else. And I have a verbal agreement with another promotion. Hasn't said where yet. Could it be? How many mortgages do you need to give Francis Ngannou $1 million to fight on your promotion?
A
How many
lot.
mortgages? A lot, right?
But the thing that's crazy was Feldman came out in the past and said Francis wants too much money. If David Feldman's not willing to take out a mortgage to sign Francis, how much fucking money does Francis want?
I don't know. Here's what can so when I first heard the ONE news, I had to assume that it was a money thing because it's always about money, right? And I'm thinking to myself, if you can't find that money in the underbelly of fucking Singapore, if Chatri can't find this fucking money, then the
Yeah.
money doesn't exist. Right? Like if he can't fucking find it, it doesn't fucking exist because that man has worked fucking miracles. But now it turns out it's a non-monetary reason, and we're getting conflicting reports because Francis is saying Chatri didn't kill the deal. I killed the deal because I verbally agreed to go somewhere else. I have to imagine it's either Bellator or PFL.
Yeah, I mean, my money would be on PFL. I don't think it's a
Okay.
matter of finding the money. I just don't think that the money that he wants is going to be enough upside for the company to do it. Otherwise, he would have already been signed. If he was as big as of a draw as people are making him seem to be, he would have been signed already.
Well, this is the dichotomy of this conversation, though, right? On one hand, we all cry out to the heavens, to the MMA gods, that we never got Francis John Jones, but on the other hand, Francis Ngannou still hasn't been picked up by another promotion, and
Yeah.
those are two thoughts that don't seem to be able to exist independently in my mind. I can't rationalize these two thoughts together yet, so I'm going to have to see where Francis lands. I would guess PFL. I think PFL makes the most sense other than ONE. I thought ONE would have really been a great landing spot for him, but
Bo-
I don't think
Boxing's interesting too.
boxing is interesting. Although, what a shame, right? The fight after we find out that Francis Ngannou learned how to wrestle, he's going to go box.
It would be
I
an absolute travesty.
It would be a fucking shame. I mean, this
I
guy just showed like he leveled up like 3 or 4 levels to absolutely manhandle Cyril Gahn on the ground. Who the
for
fuck?
me for me, it's BKFC or bust.
And that's a fair point. If you're a BKFC fan, it's a fair point. That's a big qualifier, but it's a fair point.
How crazy is that?
That's insane. I don't know. I can't wait to see the end of this to see who he verbally agreed with. But speaking of one makes its US debut this Friday, May 5th. And this card is is low-key insane. If you're listening right now, we'll get this episode out on a Monday night. If anybody drops in the comments or on the socials or anywhere that they want me to type up a little ONE FC blog post for a little analysis, I'll do it. I just need one person to say yes, I would read that, and I'll do it for the fans. But just a little preview. Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson has his trilogy fight with Adriano Moraes. They're 1-1 right now. This is possibly Mighty Mouse's retirement fight. These guys have had nothing but fireworks between them. Jump down, we have Rodtang Jitmunjung, the Iron Man, taking on Edgar Tabares for a title fight. Mikey Musamichi taking on Osama Almwarai. Mikey Musamichi, one of the most talented grapplers going right now. Sage Northcutt is coming back off of, I think, a 5-year layoff after he got flatlined by Cosmo Alexandre. He's taking on Ahmed Mutaba. And then we have, and I'll have to do some more research. So if somebody wants me to type something up, this reads to me on ShareDog like Tyru Tolo is making his MMA debut against Renier de Ridder. I can't imagine that that's true, and I have to imagine it's the other way around, and that Renier de Ridder is making a submission grappling debut against Tyru Tolo. Both are concerning. But if Renier de Ridder is Tyru Tolo's first MMA fight, that is a bad night for Tyru Tolo. I can't imagine that that's true, so I will have to do some more research on that. Renier de Ridder just lost the title in one, and before that had never lost before. If it's a submission grappling only, that makes sense. Renier de Ridder is a judo standout with some incredible grappling out of the Netherlands. But this card, if you're deep in the weeds of MMA like I am, this card is a banger.
I mean, it's everywhere. At least they're promoting it.
See, Cinco de Mayo, baby. You pull up to Miller's Ale House. That's Miller's. If the fights are on, your ass better be at Miller's. You're in Jersey. You open up Sport Trade. You settle in for the one card, one on Prime Video. You order yourself a little margarita. Are you a salt or a sugar guy on the marg, or do you go straight no rem?
It's a game time decision for me. I'm not a big Marg guy to begin with, to be honest with you.
What's your favorite Mexican beer? What are you drinking on Cinco de Mayo?
My favorite Mexican beer. I mean, I'd be pretty standard here. I'd either go Corona or I'd go Modelo.
Modelo, all right. UFC sponsor Modelo.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a man of a bit more discerning palate, maybe you get yourself a Dos Equis.
Ooh, that's the premium stuff.
That's the good stuff right there. Maybe you get a Modelo Black Label. I think Miller's Ale House has them all.
Wow.
You pop it on, you get deep into this fucking one card, which is just going to be psychosis from start to finish. Get yourself a little Nacho Tower. That's a Friday night, baby.
Dude.
Woo,
I could go for a Nacho Tower right now.
Nacho Tower, a couple of Mexican soda pops, a little ONE FC.
Oh, I'm bricked up right now.
I'm all about that life. And then you go to sleep that night with a little buzz going from Miller's, just knowing you're waking up the next day for UFC in Newark.
Oh my God.
Right there.
There really is a heaven.
Right? Set it and forget it. That's it. I'm done. I don't need to think about anything else.
Yeah, man. Life is good when you put it like that.
When you put it like that, life could be a hell of a lot worse, John Boy. You got anything else for the people this week?
Hey, man. I thought we did the damn thing for UFC 288. Hopefully we stay on the same track as we did last week. We keep it rolling and we get some of our fans paid up, right? And yeah, man, that does it for me.
Then as always, motherfuckers, call your mother, tell her you love her, because we out.
Peace.